What's going on, everybody? It's Self-Made. I'm back this time with something a little bit different for you guys. But before we get started, I just wanted to thank everybody for all the continued support throughout these last few years. It's been awesome. Recently, the channel just got monetized, and I honestly wouldn't be there without you guys. So first and foremost, thank you so much for the continued support. And if you're new to the channel, definitely hit that subscribe button for me. And if you can, go ahead and like this video and give it a thumbs up for me as well. It really helps me out a lot, and it helps me keep making these videos that hopefully get you guys out on the water and are able to catch more fish. But with that being said, today's video, what I got for you is one of my favorite baits, and I'm sure it's a lot of y'all's favorite baits as well. That's probably why you came here and clicked this video to begin with, to see what I had to say. And for that bait, it's actually Googan Bait's Lunker Log. So this bait here, basically just a regular Senko made by Googan. I've used a ton of different Senkos, and for some reason, the Googan Bait's Lunker Log Senko has caught me, honestly, the most fish out of any other Senko that I've used. That's just my opinion. I've heard a lot of others say they prefer other baits, other Senkos, but for me, this one has definitely caught me the most fish. I'm going to talk about a few things with you guys, kind of the different colors that I like to use, what colors are available. Up here on my table here, I only got a few packs. It's winter time, so I'm not fully stocked. I actually only had 2 different colors in my bag. The first color is actually my favorite. I definitely use this the most. It's the watermelon red flake. I have honestly thrown this at all times of the year. I was just out fishing a little bit earlier today, and I was throwing this exact color. Was able to get a couple bites. Didn't catch any fish today, but you know, I was only out for about 30-40 minutes. I just stopped by a pond of mine really quickly. I know it was about 40 degrees out there today, so I thought the fish might be moving, might be a little active, but didn't have much time and I wasn't able to get anything going. But that's beside the point. For today's video, it's all about what you should know. Kind of if you're new into fishing or you haven't really used a Senko, kind of what to think about when you're out there throwing and kind of the different ways to throw it. But for me, the Senko, my favorite way to throw a Senko is actually on what's called the Wacky rig. So the Wacky rig's pretty simple. I'm sure y'all have watched a video from me before where I've talked about the Wacky rig. If you've been on this channel a while, I've definitely thrown it a lot, and I'm always talking about it, always giving it a shot out there. It's pretty simple. Basically all it consists of is just one of the Senko of your choice. In my case, I prefer the Lunker Log, and then it also has, basically it has a size 6 octopus circle hook. That's the one that I like to use. These are Gamakatsu. Really doesn't matter though, as long as you're going to keep it kind of a small hook, at least for pond fishing and things like that. If you get out onto some bigger water, you might change this up a little bit. But for me, I mainly fish a lot of ponds around here when I'm bass fishing. So for me, I like to keep it really finesse style. I'm using this bait if the fish are kind of finicky and I'm not able to get a lot of bites. I know I can tie this on and, you know, I'm probably going to catch something. If I don't catch anything, I'm definitely going to trigger some bites. But basically, real quick, it's just the Lunker Log with size 6 octopus circle, and then you have one of these little O-rings that you would then put onto the Senko. That way, when you throw your bait out, there is way less of a chance for you to just sling it off into the water and have to go through another bait. So definitely prefer using that O-ring setup when I'm throwing the Wacky rig. And then also when you're using the Wacky rig, they make little weights that you can stick in the side there if you're trying to reach the bottom a little bit quicker. For me, I throw it sometimes, just kind of depends on the situation. If I can tell the water is really dense and I'm having a hard time getting to the bottom, I definitely will throw in a weight in there and see if that doesn't help, especially if I'm not getting any bites. Kind of everything with fishing is trial and error. You just get out there. If something works for you, then stick to it. If it doesn't, maybe change it up a little bit and see if you can get something to happen. But the second color that I have on the table, we'll talk about that, is basically it is a green pumpkin purple. So basically any green pumpkin color I have noticed I really do well on. It's super natural, but really any of the colors that Googan makes on these lunker logs are amazing. I've tried them all. I normally have about one of each kind of color in my bag. Just right now, like I said, it being winter, I haven't really restocked. I just have what's left over from last year, and I do normally keep a very natural color with that watermelon red flake. Almost always I'm going to try that out at least once when I'm out there fishing. But in this case, the green pumpkin purple and the watermelon red flakes what I have. But another way that people really like to throw these is on a Texas rig. I use the Texas rig quite a bit. Texas rig, for me, it's a lot easier to get to the bottom, and it's also a little bit more weedless than the Wacky rig is. So when you're throwing it, if you notice you have a lot of vegetation or there's a lot of grass in the area, then you can kind of use the Texas rig to get through that, maneuver your way through that, get to the fish where they're at, especially if they're deeper, sitting on the bottom, and trigger a strike that way. Kind of personal preference though. I probably do throw the Wacky rig a little bit more than I throw the Texas rig, but there is a time and a place for everything. When I was in Florida fishing, I definitely was out there using the Texas rig a little bit more than the Wacky rig due to how much vegetation and everything that was at the ponds that I happened to stop at. But to be honest, either way you go, Texas rig or Wacky rig, you definitely have a chance to trigger bites from fish that normally probably weren't biting with bigger crankbaits or jerk baits or chatterbaits, whatever you like to throw. If you haven't really tried something like this when the fishing gets tough, I definitely recommend it because you can definitely come up with some awesome fish. And I tell people all the time, they're like, well, I'm trying to go for a big fish. Some of my biggest fish that I've caught have been caught off of this right here. I would say more of my big fish that I've caught have came off of just a finesse style bait than actually the bigger style baits. So you can definitely catch big fish with a finesse style bait like the Wacky rig or the Texas rig. Don't want it to stop you from throwing it thinking when I say finesse, because when I say finesse, that just means if the bite is tough, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to go for smaller fish. Although sometimes when you do get out there, it may be a day where only small fish are biting these kinds of baits, and if you're looking for something bigger, maybe you should switch it up, back to the trial and error kind of thing. But either way, really just wanted to put this video together for you guys. It's winter. I'm not going to be able to have as many fishing videos out on the water because right here in Kentucky where I am, the fishing is just really tough. You're going out there, you're catching 1, 2, 3 fish, and you're really fighting for those fish when you go out there. And right now at this time of the year, at least for me. So I thought I would put together a few videos. I have this one and a couple other ones coming about baits that I really like to use. Talk to you all about those baits, and hopefully if you guys haven't, maybe you get out there and try, and if you guys have, you already know what I mean when these baits can be absolute fish catchers. So as always, I do appreciate everybody for joining into the channel. Like I said earlier in the video, I wouldn't have this channel and it wouldn't be where it's at today if it wasn't for you guys and the continued support from all of you. So I really do appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. And as always, if there's a video that you guys have been thinking about, or maybe a topic that you guys have thought about that you really want to hear, or maybe hear someone speak on, definitely leave me a comment in the comment section on what kind of video that is, and I'll be more than happy to try to put something together, especially over these next couple months when I'm waiting kind of for those lakes to turn over and the fish to get a little more active and less lethargic as they are right now with the water temperature so cold. Also, if you guys have any questions about how to tie on a Wacky rig, I have made videos for it in the past. I don't think I've made a video about the Texas rig, but if you guys are curious, wanting to know anything about that, feel free to leave me a comment, shoot me a message, any of the above, and I'll make sure to get back to you as soon as I can. I'm always glad to help anyone who's trying to learn the sport, trying to get into fishing. It's one of my favorite things to do, and it's part of the reason that I made this channel to begin with. But as always, thank you all for watching. It really does mean a lot to me. And like I said, if you can, hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed already. And if you are subscribed, I appreciate it a ton. You guys rock. And this is Self-Made. Thank you so much. Tight lines out there, and happy fishing.